Hey guys, hope everything is going well. Today we have a returning guest. Some of you have seen him on Dakota's old live streams, and I was really impressed with his knowledge. So that's why I wanted to have him on. And he's very well versed in baseball and financial markets as well. And, we could touch base on all that and maybe some Hanky talk, as Zach of all trades says, Hanky.
Yeah, it's the
Chad.
exact way to go. So yeah, well, thanks for the kind words and thank you for having me back on. I look forward to it. So yeah, the Astros are in the World Series, so I mean, there's plenty of hanky panky to talk about.
I don't think they're banging trash cans anymore, but
No,
who
they have
knows?
to come up with something else now. You can't use your old tricks. You need to come up with something different. So it'll be interesting to see what John Boy picks out this time around.
Yeah,
Probably too
exactly.
late to deny him the World Series, though.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's look at another comment. Phoenix Rising. What up, all? What up, Rahul? What's going on, Phoenix? All righty. So it's the Astros, 2 years in a row in the World Series?
Um,
And
yeah, this will be their third trip in the last four. So no,
yeah,
they've had some problems with these AL East teams that aren't supposed to make it this far. So we'll see if the third time's the charm on this one.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
And now we got the Phillies, and I was kind of shocked looking at their record. I wasn't watching them too much, but
yeah, they were a mess. I mean, they fired Girardi in the middle of the summer and brought in a new guy, and that's often a all right, we're just going to change things around. But then they went on a tear. So I mean, I know the whole world, the baseball world, the country, and the globe, they're really looking forward to a Phillies Astros matchup here. But honestly, I mean, the Phillies are a great story. This is something, if you're willing to listen, a great story to be told here. What they've done and how they've gotten here. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna think if Girardi was still with the Phillies, then it would be like two ex-Cubs guys, Dusty Baker.
Right.
I don't know if you remember Dusty Baker. I remember Dusty Baker as the Cubs manager,
Yep.
and it was first year was great. We used to say, "In Dusty, we trusty," and then 2004 happened, and he couldn't control the clubhouse, and then it was this. They should have won the World Series that year with that team. I don't know what happened. Pryor was hurt.
Gosh, I remember. Yeah, Pryor was kind of was he hurt or was he one of the main guys that year? He was great when he was still good.
He was really good. He was, I think he's with the Dodgers now as a coach. I forget which team.
But back then, I think it was 2002, 3. I mean, he was still pitching and really, really effective.
Yeah, he was effective. The problem with Dusty Baker was he had Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. I remember Kerry Wood threw 150 pitches one game.
I say he ruined Dusty Baker.
He ruined them.
He either doesn't play a rookie or he destroys the rookie.
Yeah.
So the Dusty Baker, the Lizard. Yeah. Then I think he had some run with the Giants. I mean, he's the guy to get these teams to do to get him to the championship. He's got the track record for that. But Houston, I mean, this is a dynasty in the making here.
Oh,
so, 2017, 19, the last couple of years. I mean, they're deep. They look unstoppable. They haven't lost in the postseason yet. And then you have the Phillies that they've won 9 of 11 to get things started, and they're not as deep. But when you have Bryce Harper having the playoffs that he's having, I mean, we've never really seen this happen before out of a single player. This is insane. So that's going to make things interesting.
For sure. So maybe let's start off looking at the pitching staff. And I know you emailed me a huge spreadsheet of all these guys. I'm like, wow, you are very analytical with your information.
No, I'm a copy and paster. I don't have a good enough memory to remember all this stuff. So I just kind of copied and pasted all the stats so I have something to refer to.
Okay.
I like everybody to believe I've got this off the top of my head, but that's not a thing.
Okay. So in terms of pitching, you could take a deeper dive, but me looking at it just from the whole, I would say that the Astros have a stronger pitching staff with Verlander. Last year, I think Verlander was hurt, so he couldn't pitch.
Yeah,
and then
this year's the Cy Young. He's going to win the Cy Young this year. So.
Yeah, he's most likely going to win the Cy Young, and then you just have another pitcher. I think it's Valdez.
Framber Valdez, who
Yes.
this year he threw 25, I think at least 25 consecutive quality starts. He didn't let up more than 3 runs since the beginning of April all the way till near the end of the season. He was terrific all year. So yeah, so Verlander Valdez is kind of your 1-2 punch there. The Phillies, I think, can match it with Nola and Wheeler. So what they're
Yeah.
going to have to do is sneak one out one of those 2 games, because the Astros still have Christian Javier, and then they can go with a Lance McCullers, and not to mention their bullpen, which is deeper. And then the Phillies, they get to like Zach Eflin, as their third pitcher. That's where things are really going to go south. So they really need to get the jump on Houston right off the bat here and sneak one out of one of those first 2 games.
Do you think that the Phillies are going to probably have these guys, the top 2, on short rest?
Yeah, I think they have to. Like, again, once you get to that third pitcher, you're not in a favorable matchup anymore. So the Astros are just too deep, and the Astros bullpen, Verlander can get touched up. I mean, he just did against the Yankees that first time around, but the Astros, their hitting came through and they won it anyways. And so you're going to have to do what you can. I mean, they've had time to set up Wheeler and Nola to go 1 and 2. So that'll be the first one, and then you'll have a day's rest, and then you'll have to kind of figure something out. One of those guys will have to go again, or you'll have to have Syndergaard ready for a couple more innings, on the Monday night game. So, but yeah, Friday, Saturday, I mean, those will be good matchups. But the Phillies, I think, will have to win one of those if they want a chance.
Indeed. So just rating them, I give the Astros the edge. Who would you give the edge?
I think you have to give it to the Astros right now. But when you look at what the Phillies have done, I mean, they weren't supposed to make the playoffs, and then they were sixth seed, and they weren't supposed to advance. And then they just keep beating everybody. Who would have thought they would have beaten the Cardinals, and then the Braves, and then recently the Padres. And so it's tough to count them out, especially when you have really Bryce Harper, doing what he's doing. 1,300 OPS. I mean, hitting about 400, 500. It's really insane what he's been able to do. But the Phillies are relying on basically Nola, Wheeler, Harper. And then occasionally they'll get Hoskins and Schwarber to step up a little bit. And Sir Anthony Dominguez has been fire out of the bullpen. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot. And, Houston, when you look at them, it's like Bregman's had a good series. Jordan and Pena have really come through in the clutch when you've needed it. The pitching has been more on than off, but there's been some missteps here. But, Altuve hasn't even hit yet. It's like they're so deep. There's so many things. Tucker can get going a little bit. They just have so many more pieces that could get going, that I think that's going to be too much for the Phillies to handle unless they can get to them early. So the longer this goes on, the greater are the chances that the Astros are going to win this one. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking as well. Because if you look at Bryce Harper, can he continue this success in the World Series? He never was able to be successul with the Nationals. He was never able to take them to the promised land. And now he's been on fire. And then, following math, the law of averages, is he going to continue to hit the way that he did?
Yeah, exactly. So can we just get a few more games out of him at this pace? And he's going to have to. If he doesn't, you have Schwarber and Hoskins that can maybe do something for a short period of time, but they're not going to be able to carry 4 or 5 games. So if Harper slumps now, then it's going to be like Aaron Judge slumping in the championship series. It's like you're kind of dead in the water.
Yeah,
the pitching is good, but you do have to have some offense.
Exactly. I mean, I remember Schwarber. I still have the utmost. I mean, he helped my Cubbies in the World Series, and he came back from injury. So I always love Schwarber, even if he's in a different uniform. Yeah. And now, is he going to able to hit the way that he has? I mean, he's a DH right now, right? Correct? Or is he playing in the field?
Yeah, I'm not sure where they have him in the field consistently. I haven't been able to watch all the games, but yeah, I mean, he hit, he was hitting 400 in the last series, 3 home runs. I mean, he really has been on fire. So again, it comes down to those 3: Harper, Hoskins, Schwarber.
And then maybe the wild card is Castellanos. I remember he was just amazing when he was with the Cubs a couple of years back.
For sure. This was the guy that always had his hard hit rate was always extremely high. It seems like everything he's hit, you're just waiting for that year where he would just break out. And then he did, and then he left, got his contract, and he hasn't really been the same. There was always going to be some level of regression, but he can certainly get it going as well. So a little bit older, but for the Phillies, yeah, you're going to need someone else to step up. That would be nice. But if Harper doesn't do it, these other guys aren't doing it consistently enough to really make up for it.
Indeed, indeed. So in terms of the bats, I would give the edge to the Astros,
Yeah, I would.
assuming
Yeah, I
you're
would.
giving the edge.
I would agree. I mean, you've got Yordan Alvarez, which is a top 3 bat in the league. You know, you have basically Judge, and then Alvarez is right there, you know, just behind him in that next ring down. Altuve hasn't done anything this series. You know, he's got like a hit. It just hasn't done much. I think in the championship series, he got his first couple hits. He's like got 3 or 4 hits in all the playoffs. They've only had the 2 series. They had the first round bye, but if Altuve starts to get going, I mean, that's their second best hitter. But Bregman's been solid. You still have Tucker. And then Jeremy Pena seems to, whenever they need a hit, he seems to come up with it. The guy's got like a 173 WRC plus, which is MVP level stuff in the playoffs right now. So they've just got so many ways to hit you. You don't need one guy to get hot the whole time. I mean, Jordan's done it for a couple of swings, but you have so many other people that can contribute. Whereas the Phillies, again, you miss Harper, it's like forget it.
Yeah, exactly. So we give the edge to both of us, I agree, on hitting and pitching. Mm-hmm. And maybe now just look at some other intangibles out there. Yeah. Maybe you think of others, but I'm thinking from a managerial perspective. Dusty Baker has been to the World Series. Mm-hmm. What has it been 3 times as a manager? I don't remember off the top of my head.
What Giants, Cubs,
Cubs, and then Astros last year, right?
Astros last year. So yeah. So he's got the experience, but I mean, maybe the new guy for the Phillies. I mean, maybe there's just something there where he's like, I don't know any better, and so he just kind of wings it, and maybe that works as well. So yeah, you got to give the nod to the guy that's been there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it is the lizard.
Even if it's the lizard.
Yeah.
So, what other aspects do you see or comments that you have from this World Series that we haven't touched base on?
Yeah, for me, I'm more excited about this than I would be if it was Yankees Dodgers. I just think there's a lot more. There's more. The Astros are already kind of villainous, and then going to the World Series, 3 times in 4 years, it's not going to help their case from that perspective. But I think the Phillies are a great story, but I think the relievers will play a big part of this as well. So we could talk about the bullpens respectively, and I think you got to give that to Houston as well. But Seranthony Dominguez has been about the most dominant reliever in this whole postseason, to this point. That's still throwing here. So he's striking out guys at a huge clip, not giving up any runs. But again, where the Astros get the nod on that one is they're deeper, with Presley and Neris and Montero. I mean, they've just got too many ways to hit you. So, yeah. but it's kind of like the old parable about the bumblebee. If you look at a bumblebee and its body type and its weight ratio to the size of its wings, it shouldn't be able to fly. But since it doesn't know this, it does anyways. It's like the Phillies. They're not supposed to be here, but I don't think they care, and they find a way to beat all the big teams. And so, if they can get a punch in early, you certainly can't write them off, and that they can make things interesting. But again, when you get to that 3rd or 4th game, if you have to go to Alpha, and then I think they go right back to Nola or Wheeler if they get to 4 or 5 to close it down. But they need to strike early.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the Phillies can't win.
Right.
I remember, or I was just listening earlier on to another commentator regarding the World Series, and this dude was saying that in 2014, it was the Royals versus the Giants, and the Royals were on fire. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was the Giants were the underdogs, and they won in 7 games. So, they have Bumgarner. Okay.
I was going to say in the process, I think they ruined Madison Bumgarner for the rest of his career, but he got a World Series out of it. So
he won 3 World Series with them. So
but they threw him so much. I mean, his arm was just, he wasn't quite the same after those years. But I mean, I don't know how many people wouldn't take that trade.
Yeah, exactly.
So he might be okay with it, and you'll just have to go cry into his pile of money and be all right with it. So
yeah, with Arizona. Yeah, some of his cards were cheap, by the way. Some of his rookie cards I was checking out, like no one wants to bid on these. So
on Bumgarner?
Yeah, and Bumgarner, one of his rookie cards. I'm like, I remember a few years ago, people were just chasing everything, and now it's
Well, you see that now with it's all about relevance and demand. And so right now, what was it? Sports Card Investor. I saw the thumbnail. It's like 5 cards going up, and Jeremy Pena was on the cover. And over the past few weeks, you've seen, Jordan Alvarez as well. There's just been a lot of love around these players because there's so much demand around it. And so your video, I think yesterday, when you're talking about the hype cycle, it's like you're seeing it right now. So all these cards are based on relevance. And so when Mad Bum's in the World Series, of course, people are wanting his cards because he's front and center and you got to get a piece of it. If you're able to take a step back and just look at the longer term, it's like, well, there's not a lot of long-term relevance here. Fillington had a short out that he put out a couple hours ago, talking about should you be buying cards in the World Series? And it's like, no, you shouldn't. And this is what I've said. It's like when the hype is there, the prices are going to go parabolic, but you run out of buyers really, really quickly. There aren't that many. It's kind of like Beanie Babies. You're just trying to find someone who's willing to pay that price, and it's like at some point and really quickly you just run out of those people. So right now, Jeremy Pena, just sit back, watch, enjoy, but keep in mind that this is a guy that his prospect, his rookie numbers or whatever, his rookie ratings. I mean, he's very good. He's a speedy guy. He's a plus defender, but the hit tool wasn't quite there. Maybe he's starting to come into some power at a decent age here, but I think you need to see more before you start paying the prices that he's getting right now. And I think there'll be a much better time to buy those cards. But yeah, anytime you have all eyes focused on a very narrow set of players, it's like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. People are going to start chasing those things. And so that's why I'm out buying Francisco Lindor. It's like, all right, no one cares. I'll go get him right now. Here's a guy that, if Jeremy Pena had 40 wins sitting at age 29, he'd be really, really lucky. That's what Francisco Lindor's sitting at. So I'll take that all day.
Yeah. And I haven't checked out your latest video, I think that you put out on the last day, but what I'm thinking about maybe prospecting, in the future, like you said, Lindor would be a nice player. Mm-hmm. Who else would you consider to be on your buy list? I'm just thinking I would like to look at potential Hall of Famers in the next few years. I mean, the market has taken a dip.
Yeah.
You dip.
You
but
dip.
Sports card radio reference.
Yeah, that's a great reference, though.
Yeah,
I want to get one of those shirts, but I don't think anybody would understand what the hell I'm talking about on that.
Yeah, so. Exactly. It's only a tight niche hobby.
It's a good shirt for the National, and that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Or that one that Lamim James. I don't know if you go on Instagram, but he wore a shirt that I shilled my auction on Probstein auctions or something like that.
Nice. I like it though. I would understand that though. So, So not to pimp my channel, but like after the end of the season is when I do my homework, and I share it on my channel. So it's like I just look at players and what trajectory they are for long-term relevance. Hall of Fame for the most part, and start with the pitchers, catchers, go position by position. But that's my shopping list right there. So you've got the guys that are pretty obvious. Greinke and Scherzer, Verlander, and then probably Kershaw, Verlander, Scherzer, then probably a Greinke. So it's like, of course you're buying them, then it's all about the price. And that's when I do my research on like Card Ladder, Market Movers or whatever. It's like, all right, of course you want to buy these guys, but it's like, what price do you want to get them at? So you just try and, just follow the trend, and, it depends on your time frame on those. But, so for my pitchers, probably the pitcher I'm most interested in right now that I think is getting slept on is Garrett Cole, who's 31 years old. And if you compared him to like age 31 Kershaw, age 31, Justin Verlander, age 31 Zach Greinke, it's like he compares pretty favorably to those guys. And I would say the rest of those guys are likely Hall of Famers. And so it's like, all right, if Garrett Cole's willing to put in another 5-6 years and he's able to do it at a high level, the level that he's at or close to, then I think this is another player that can be considered. So basically there's one pitcher that gets into Hall of Fame every year. There's Hall of Fame's been on for 85 years. There's 80 something pitchers in there. So it's like, there's room for a guy like that. CC Sabathia is a guy that should be getting in the next couple of years. I think Francisco Rodriguez, the reliever, has a shot. And those are players that are out of sight, out of mind, and they're relatively cheaper entertainment.
So you made you're talking about Cole, and my thoughts on Cole during the time where he second in the Cy Young with the Astros a couple of years ago?
He was right there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was right there. He had a phenomenal year, but in my opinion, I believe he used Spider Tack, which helped him a bit Obviously the Astros analytics department is
Yeah.
pretty good, which
Hmm.
I think has helped Verlander pitch
Yeah.
very well from what I've been told. But Cole, I think he had a phenomenal year because of Spider Tag. This year, he had a decent year from what I've seen on his stats, but it wasn't as dominant as the time he was with the Astros. So I'm not sure how the voters are going to look at Garrett Cole. I remember Garrett Cole when he was with the Pirates and
Yeah.
he was facing the Cubs in the 2015 NL wildcard game or
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And the Cubs had beaten him. And I remember that Cole was starting to be an up and coming starter, but
Yeah.
then I thought part of it was because of Spider Tech. So that's just my opinion. I mean, you could be right. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a big component of this is how are these guys going to be treated? A-Rod is starting to get some Hall of Fame votes. You have new voters coming in. We'll see how they handle this stuff. I don't think what he did is nearly as bad as some other guys. David Ortiz got in on the first ballot. It's like, I mean, it wasn't an official test, it was leaked. Dude roided. I mean, he drugged up. So
PEDs, yeah.
yeah, and so and he's in. So I think something like Spider Tack, his spin rates they changed after they banned it. A lot of guys were using it, and it wasn't anything that it just doesn't seem that egregious. It's a foreign substance, I get it, and everything like that. But a lot of people were using it. They took it away, and his spin rate went down. But he came back, and it didn't take very long for him to adjust and become effective again. All the pitchers said is I think it was I think it was Glasnow or whatever for Tampa. He's like, you can't take this away in the middle of the season. Our arms are conditioned to throw without it. Do this between seasons. He hurt his elbow, but Garrett Cole was far from the only person using this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of other players that admitted it. So,
yeah,
but he adjusted.
Trevor
That's what
Bauer.
good pitchers do. Verlander's a different pitcher now than he was, a few years ago. And he's, 3 Cy Youngs, or will be soon 3 Cy Youngs, an MVP award, which is kind of rare for a pitcher. And
Kershaw got an MVP as well.
Kershaw got one as well. Yeah, and three Cy Young awards. So
yeah.
These guys evolve, and that's what good pitchers do. I think Cole's doing that right now. So there's a long way to go. He needs, like I said, another 5 or 6 years of really consistent play. But right now, when you can get numbered refractors for $30, like I will take that risk.
Yeah. So the thing is, speaking of Verlander, I was buying a bunch of his cards in 2019 pre-pandemic, and during the World Series, or even during the boom, I was able to sell it for $300.
Okay.
And now he's going to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
Or most likely, and his cards haven't gone anywhere from that. So I just find that quite interesting. Like, despite performance, that the card isn't seeing massive appreciation as you've seen in the past. It could be more supply, obviously, by PSA grading them more cards. The PSA
perhaps, but I think pitchers in general, Kershaw's come off quite a bit from his highs. Max Scherzer for the last years. If you look at I'm mostly a collector, so PSA 9 is fine by me. I don't need the 10s or anything like that. I think the premium on them is, I can't tell the difference between a 9 and a 10 for the most part. So, but Scherzer's been trading between like $100 and $150 for the longest time. There's been a few spikes here and there that you just kind of ignore. But yeah, if you can get a PSA 9 Scherzer, that 2008 update for $100, like that seems like a really good deal, relative to other cards. But this guy, got his 3,000 strikeout this year. I mean, he was probably well on his way, but that punches the ticket. If you get 3,000 strikeouts, you're pretty much in, unless you're currently pitching or you took something you shouldn't have taken, like Roger Clemens, or you're Kurt Schilling, and they just don't like who you voted for.
Yeah, exactly. I think Schilling would have gotten in, but he told people don't vote for him. So I think that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the tail end of his eligibility, but he's just like, to heck with you guys, and it's like, you know what, good for you, I guess. Whatever, doesn't care, and which is too bad because he deserves it, But
for sure.
You strip away. Just based on numbers, like, you should probably be in. So it's too bad that personal feelings get involved with the voting, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's crazy town. Crazy town.
Right? For sure.
Yeah. Let's segue into some hanky panky, but
nice.
Let's look at some comments here.
Yeah.
I've ignored them for now. Paige says, hanky panky, they're using technology to tap into pitcher and catcher headpieces from the opposing team. Now that
I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's impressive.
Do you remember a few years ago with the Altuve, everyone was accusing him of
the buzzer?
Yeah, the buzzer or something like that. Do you think
Don't
he was
take
a
off my
buzzer?
shirt. Don't take off my shirt.
Sure.
So
He
there
thought
was a
he was saying it was a tattoo, but then everyone thought
yeah.
it was a buzzer. I don't
Right.
know.
There was a wrinkle, suspicious wrinkle in the wrong spot. So, who knows? But all these things heal with time. I don't think that the hate is at the same level for a player like Altuve, and that's another player that I would be looking not right now. Well, maybe right now. I mean, he's not doing anything in the playoffs. So even though he's front and center, he's being overshadowed. But that's another player that I target from time to time.
Do you think the voters are gonna punish the Astros in the future? Potentially like Altuve, maybe Bregman.
The one,
Verlander's a lock in my opinion.
yeah, I don't
So
think there's any getting away from Verlander. He did so much before, and I mean, when did he come over to the Astros? I mean, was he
was
part
it
of?
2019 or
Yeah, so he wasn't
2018?
part of the 2017 stuff. So he'll
Or I
escape.
Yeah, he should escape because it wasn't
Yeah,
the pitchers, it was the batters,
no,
right?
but anybody that knew. So we're gonna find out really quickly. Carlos Beltran comes up for a vote in the Hall of Fame, and
Oh, he's
and
not gonna get in.
he's got a case to be made, right? But we'll
Yeah.
see if he doesn't get any votes, or if he gets kicked off the ballot in the first year or something. Then we'll know how they're treating the Astros. So he was kind of the masterminds, but he'll be up in the next couple of years
Yep.
if he's not up
Alrighty.
already. But yeah, so we'll get a feel for how that's going to go real soon.
Yep. Ryan says, I remember when that 1983 Phillies choked with 5 future Hall of Famers and Pete Rose, so I'll wish them the best of luck. I wasn't even alive back then. So,
Right. So well, that's kind of the funny thing. I mean, you talk about how well Bryce Harper's doing right now. It's like the Nationals did better without him last year. The Braves won without Acuna. It's just like there's addition by subtraction. I mean, maybe you just need what the Astros are doing right now with their star kind of out. But I mean, you just need a multitude of guys just to step up. But yeah, the Phillies with 5 Hall of Famers, like, all right, no excuse for that one.
exactly. All right. Paige says, let's not forget Mick Billmeyer, the bullpen coach for the Phillies, got caught using binoculars from the bullpen. I don't remember that. Do you?
Yeah, I think we did forget. I'm sorry.
I don't.
You see,
When
you told us
was
not to
that?
forget, but I think we forgot. So there's been so many instances. I mean, you'd have rumors of in Fenway Park behind the manual scoreboard, people with binoculars doing the same thing. It's like cheating's always been a part of baseball, and
Yeah.
this is where I kind of disrespect the Astros to a bit. It's like cheating's always been a part of the game. And how many times do teams get caught? It's like not very often. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
they went so far above and beyond and out of the way. And it was so elaborate. It's like, how dumb are you? There's other ways to do it and not get caught.
Yeah. So I don't know if you watched that podcast with one of my buddies, John, and he knew someone or his brother knew someone from the Astros. And they were discussing that a bunch of other teams
Mm-hmm.
were cheating, but then
Yep.
they went after the Astros. So
Yep. Red Sox were rumored to be
Red
part of that
Sox,
as
yeah,
well.
and the
Yep.
Yankees, from my
Yankees.
understanding. So
Yep.
I'm just thinking, like, why would you go after the Astros, right? If other teams are cheating because someone, called them out, like Fires or whatever.
Well,
his
I'm
name
not. Fires spoke. I think John Boy going viral. They couldn't contain it.
Yeah.
So that was like what kicked off his channel. He was 30,000 sub guy or something like that, and he went up to like 400,000 overnight with that breakdown. He's like, here, listen to the drum, and here's a off speed pitch, and you hear the bang bang or whatever it was, and you
That's
could see the
crazy.
players just timing things up perfectly. Like Altuve is pulling outside fastballs. Just it's like that's not a thing. No one does that here. So. I think you couldn't ignore it at that point, and their hand might have been forced. I don't think they would like the cheating stuff to get out, especially not with the Yankees and Red Sox. They're golden boys. So
Yeah, exactly. And someone,
Astros, forget them.
yeah, I mean, the thing is that everyone cheats. And then
Mhm.
the thing is, the Nationals still were able to beat the Astros, assuming they cheated or not. The
Right. Well,
reality is, the Nationals changed their signs, so that may
yeah.
have messed with the Astros.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember when they actually got caught with the cheating thing, because it wasn't right away. It was quite a bit after. Was it after that World Series with Washington? Because if it was, then they really need to play it close to the vest, and there's no way they could do what they were doing before. I mean, they have to be extra careful. Washington could probably cheat away at that point and not have to worry about it. So
Yeah, indeed. Let's look at some other comments.
yeah, who we got here?
Nosh Owl 21, if I'm saying that correctly. What up, all? What up? Steve says, I can't believe you guys aren't watching the Nets right now pumping KD cards. No, I don't pump Kevin Durant cards. Speaking of Kevin Durant,
I
I
think
think
that's Steve's guy. Steve's been pumping that one for a while, hasn't he?
yeah, he pumps
Long live
KD
the pump.
cards all.
See, I don't understand that. It's just like, all right, you've got a card you want to sell. What do? You advertise it, right?
Yeah,
Well,
you advertise it, but the thing is that if you're trying to get involved in a low, this would be a good question for you because you understand financial markets, and it's okay if you have a different opinion. So suppose someone has bought up a huge stock of cards, right? And it's a low population cards, and they're saying, "Oh my God, this card is amazing! You guys got to be positive, this and that." And it's going to the moon, and then on the back end you're selling, right? And the securities world, I mean, that looks like hanky panky, right? Obviously
it is, but the biggest operation in the world is the Oppenheimers with the diamond trade. There's enough diamonds for everybody to have multiple. They're pretty much worthless for the most part, unless you're using it for production, but they leak out a little bit at a time. And then they have advertising campaigns like, you have to buy this, diamond is forever and it's worth 2 months salary for a lifetime, all that kind of stuff. There's plenty of diamonds, but they control the output of them to an extent that there's a lot of value to them. So it's I think if you understand what's going on, then you can kind of sidestep it. You don't have to play that game. But yeah, I mean, that goes on with the diamond trade right now. They control the supply, and they leak it out when they need to keep the price high.
Okay,
So if someone did that with cards, as long as you kind of understand how many cards are out there of a certain player, you can understand the print runs. You can kind of get a feel for what the price should maybe be. And if someone's just leaking them out one at a time, then you can just then you don't have to play the game.
Okay, that's a fair point. I know some people make that argument about Golden, that where he has, in some people's opinion, pop control, where they sell Jordan cards one at a time that he did at the height. So, people will call it slimy, but it's his firm.
I think it's smart, because if you have a pile of Jordan cards, so he made a good investment at one point potentially. And if I'm sitting on market control, I don't want to dump them all at once. I'm going to kill the value of my product. So I mean, the only way you can get rid of it is a little bit at a time. It may be foolish, I think, to do it anyway else. If you flood the market, then I mean, there's not enough buyers to absorb all those Jordans.
Yeah, or you could tell people, I'm not accepting to sell those. And then
absolutely. And so you leak them out at a time. And if people don't want it, if people say, dude's sitting on 1,000 gold, 1,000 Jordans, he's gonna have to get rid of those at some point. Then the price will reflect that at a certain point. So, I don't feel bad, but I mean, the people that are rushing into this first buying, it's like, well, you're doing the rest of us a favor.
Okay.
Yeah, get that ball rolling here. But yeah, I mean, if you were sitting on, the market, on pops, and they were a huge price, and you controlled the market, I mean, you probably want to treat it the same way. I don't think you'd want to dump them all at once. It would kill the value of your inventory.
Yeah, the thing is that it's funny that you say this. A lot of people saying that, oh, all my Funko Pops, they're actually not mine. They're my wife's. I'm just saying that I have maybe 10 to maybe 15 Pops in my own collection. They're all sports ones all the way. Right. But I do have some scarce ones, like a Brady, Edelman, and Gronk. That's one of my favorite ones. But
that's cool. Yeah, no, I think I've got a couple of Star Wars ones. I think they're fun, but so the Star Wars market is kind of the same thing, where there's some dealers that have a huge stockpile of like vinyl Cape Jawas, which are really rare. There's no way they're dumping them all at once. I mean, they're just going to leak them out a little bit at a time, wait for that buyer to come in, keep that. They'll throw it out for 20 grand or something like that. When someone snaps it up, they'll wait a while, put another one out. They put them all out at the same time, they'll lose half their money on it.
Yeah. And it's the hype cycle.
Yep.
All goes hand in hand. Josh Luber, and apparently I believe he's out of Fanatics from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that he was the chief vision officer, which I don't know what that is, but I mean, what, for better or worse, I mean, when he went to, backyard breaks and kind of signed them up, it's like, eh, you're bringing in an element that a lot of people in the hobby don't like. But if you're trying to expand the hobby, that's probably the way to go. So I think there was a lot of pushback on that. I don't know a ton about it, but
Yeah,
maybe there's something behind the scenes, and maybe they didn't
seen
like that because there was some
something.
blowback from current hobby. But it's like, if you're trying to expand this thing, that's a you're not going to get it. You're not expanding it by coming to most of us YouTubers. You got to go to that guy. You have to go to them.
Yeah. How do you think that the hobby is going to expand? How do you think Fanatics is going to do it, in your opinion?
I think, yeah, I mean, just kind of what they were trying to do, going to these breakers and going, the more viral route or whatever. I'm not on Instagram, or I don't do much on social media or anything like that. So I'm not sure how these different avenues work or anything like that. But I think if you're able to get some buzz around your products, I think you'll see a lot of advertising in sporting games. You don't see Topps advertise or anything right now. I think you'll see a
No.
lot of Fanatics advertisements. So you'll have them advertising. You'll have them going with these breakers that get they have a ton of excitement around them, and honestly, there's probably a lot of things I can't even think about because I'm not a chief vision officer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would agree with you on that. Sporting games, specifically basketball,
Yeah,
because you get the hype crowd, I think comes
right.
from basketball, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'll be
And
they'll be
then,
giving away cards at the arena. You're gonna get
yeah,
people. It's gonna
he
be like
owns the
it'll be like cigarettes and kids and stuff like that. Just start handing those things out.
and he owns the guy, Ruben, he owns the 76ers, right?
Yeah, he
So,
does or did. Yeah,
yeah, so he's gonna probably start there as a trial run,
yep,
right?
yeah,
Run it at some intercompany charge or whatever. He could easily do that, and then expand to every other team
yeah.
there. And then I also think what they could do, like on the IG side, obviously go to the people that have the most followers, but you don't go on Instagram, like I stated. But what I've noticed is, even if the girl isn't good looking, they get ton of views, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not judging girls on their looks, but I'm just saying that this is just a fact.
Well, they're there for a
And
reason. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly. So if you go to the best looking girls out there, women, I mean, that's how you could market, because you're going to get all these dudes in the hobby, right? A lot of
mhm.
them are single, from what I gather. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it seems, right? A lot of
Right,
single
right, yeah,
dudes, even if they're not single and married, they're still going to follow the good looking woman or lady, whatever, right?
right.
And you could market that way. I mean, I would go to
I
those
think you'll
accounts,
see.
to be honest.
I think you'll see a lot of different avenues that will be part of it. Something sells. As the old expression goes. So, yeah, that'll be. You see it on eBay a lot. You'll have cards and a girl holding it. Somewhere provocatively. It's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted that card, but
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's certainly a tactic. I think giveaways at stadiums to kids. I mean, I think you'll see, or wherever, to kids, and get them hooked. I think that'll be a big part of it. You got to
Yeah,
have them going to the store and begging mom and dad, or you're at Target, and you buy me a pack, so.
there you go. Steve says this is sexist, toxic masculinity.
Absolutely. Good. We're bringing it back.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's go through some other comments. Brendan Ryan, he said this earlier. LeBron James and Kevin Durant just signed their souls to Fanatics. I
I
think
thought they
it's
already
with
signed him to
Mitchell and
China.
Ness.
All right.
Mitchell and Ness, right? Remember Kevin Durant got in on, was it Star Stock?
Star Stock, I think it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Star Stock. And
Star Stock
yeah,
was fun. I mean, what a great concept. I don't know what went wrong on that one, but that was a lot of fun to be on, to trade and buy and sell. And, that was, I think it was a great idea. I hope someone else does kind of the same thing. I think eBay's maybe trying with their vault, but that was a fun market. I mean, you could buy and sell pretty quickly on there.
indeed, indeed. And I think Durant invested in, was it Top Shot? A bunch of dudes invested in Top Shot, all
I
these
know a lot of them
athletes.
did. I think Durant was the star stock one. It wouldn't surprise me if he got in Top Shot as well. So I'm with you on that one. When that came out, I'm like, I wasn't so convinced it was going away. I just knew I didn't get it, and so I wanted no part of it. But
Yeah. Darren Ravel had a tweet. He said that every 8 hours during the peak in February, they're spending what, millions and millions of dollars. I think $2.5 million. And then I think the last month, don't quote me on this, I think it's $2.5 million.
Yeah.
So something ridiculous. So, you could see how far Top Shot has gone down the tubes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Just the net. I was making fun of those for a long time. The NFTs in general, it's just you'd have guys spending, $80 for a fart in a jar. It's just like, one, there's too much money out there. This is a problem. Two, it's just like this. There's one person that's going to do it. They're doing it for the publicity, and that's it. This doesn't last.
Indeed. All right. Phoenix Rising says, I thought LeBron was still under contract with Upper Deck as far as signing autos, or are KD and LeBron simply investing in Fanatics? I think it's investing in Mitchell
Yeah.
and Ness, but don't quote me on that from
Yeah,
what
I'm
I've
not.
seen. I
I'm
don't
not
want
sure their
to,
business dealings. It wouldn't surprise me if Upper Deck was part of Fanatics at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder the Upper Deck license. I don't know how that would work. So if Upper Deck were to sell to Fanatics, would they retain the licenses of LeBron and Michael Jordan and Gretzky, etc.?
I think that's why Fanatics would want it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's
But
any way
they're,
they're
they're
like,
gonna
hey, you
they're
take
not
the
gonna.
hockey cards, we're keeping the autos. It's like, no.
All right, I'm gonna call him Jim Harbaugh instead of Jimbaugh.
Hard
But
Jimba. I like that one.
yeah, I've never Hanky Panky. Yeah, we're discussing it a little bit here and there. Speaking of, there's been so much hanky panky that just came about in the last 10 months. It seems like 5 years how
Yeah.
the market has evolved. Is it because liquidity has dried up with the Fed, raising interest rates and all that? I mean, I'm thinking that, and
I
the
just think
deleveraging.
whenever something gets popular, you have more people to it. A certain percentage is going to be bad actors. Always a percentage of bad actors, right? We've had trimming for a long time, and card altering and things of that nature. As the hobby has grown, then that percentage probably doesn't change. There's just more people that are willing to do things, and they'll come up with more advanced techniques to do it. As far as replicating printing, the trimming and sticker autos have been a horrible introduction. You can switch those out, I guess. So that's just been that's not that hasn't been a real benefit. I mean, it's probably a benefit from the perspective we're getting more autos. Like you get better cards. You don't, if you've ever seen Marcus Stroman signing cards, the dude's just throwing them all over the place. You're never going to get a mint Marcus Stroman autograph. So the stickers are a way to do it more efficiently, I suppose. But it opens itself up to fraud.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this is just crazy stuff going on.
So I think there's more, but as a percentage of transactions, as a percentage of people being bad actors, that's probably not wildly different than what we've always had. But we haven't, go back 20 years. Do we have $1 million cards? I mean, when you have that, you're going to have more people that want to, create that kind of a card. I mean, we didn't have 10, 20, $30,000 cards back then, other than like vintage, and those were faked. So now there's just a different way to do it. So,
I mean, you could just use Kurt's card care and you could solve your
there
problem.
you go.
Right?
I've heard about them. I haven't seen too much in it, but I see the reference thrown around quite often on cleaning and all that kind of stuff. It seems like it's kind of a meme at this point. So
yeah, everyone got pissed off at me when I was talking about it, or a lot of people. But
I don't want to. All right, I don't want to make you revisit that one then.
No, it's all good. All right. Brendan says, no self-respecting Cubs fan roots for the Astros. I'm not rooting for them. I just think they're going to win.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's just, you like to tell it as it is,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I said that Dusty Baker, I don't like what he did to Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. And this is what, almost 20 years after the fact? Not even 20, but like
right.
15 years. I mean, they could have won the World Series. No, I mean, the Cubs didn't have a strong bullpen. That was the problem. And he overused Pryor and Wood.
Yeah. But when you're in that situation, I think you guys that want to be in, and what do you, I mean, that's that 100 pitch limit. I mean, there's guys that can throw 150 and it's not a problem. And there's guys that you probably should start to pull out at 80 or 100 pitches or something like that. I mean, techniques have advanced to the point where you can start to look at their velocity, their arm angle, and get them out before they're going to really start to hurt themselves. But I mean, that 100, 120 pitches. I mean, 150. There's guys that can do that no problem. No, apparently Mark Breyer wasn't one of them, but
Yeah, and I think he was used to do that,
yeah,
which
yeah.
messed him up.
No, like I said, I think Dusty ruined him.
Yeah, Dusty Pryor's dad was right about that, in my
Yeah. Okay.
opinion. Ricardo says, I'm from Houston and I don't root for the Astros. All right.
That's all right.
No,
There's nothing that says you have to, right?
exactly. Brandon says, on the other hand, no MLB team is without scandal at some point in history. Have the Oakland Athletics cheated?
Do they still exist? Well, I mean, they dump
Billy Bean?
I mean, is dumping your salary and payroll, is that a scandal? I don't know, but I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, you're probably right, and we can't name them. I think people move on eventually at some point. So
Exactly.
except for the Black Sox, forget those guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Forget about Shoeless Joe. All right. Phoenix Rising,
Yep.
Mad Bum or Bumgarner, undefeated in World Series starts. Okay.
Yep. Paid for it, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
He's still throwing.
Yeah, he has that arm angle which screwed him up, just like Jake Arrieta, the way that he throws. And I think Lucas Giolito with the White Sox, he's going to have similar problem because he just
Giolito, Chris Sale, a lot of those guys. You're just waiting for the injury to happen, and eventually it seems like it does.
Yeah, that's why the Cubs didn't pay Arrieta, which made sense now.
Yeah, he had a couple nice years there.
Yeah, that's crazy. You dip, Daniel? All right. They call me Shilly Willy. I love to hanky panky. All right, Bob. All right, let's look at some other comments. Yes, and speaking of the Black Sox, they're still blacklisted. Yeah. Do you think they should? I don't think they should.
I think again, time heals all wounds. You had Kennesaw Mountain Landis at the time. He was kind of a Richard and maybe came down way too hard. But you look at that World Series, Joe Jackson was the best player, and he got blackballed for life. And Comiskey had his own problems there. He wasn't. It doesn't sound like he was treating them very well. So
yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah, there's some great books on that one. I read one a while back. I forget the name, but there's terrific books on it, and I think it's time to let that go. Joe Jackson had a 356 lifetime average, and it's like, yeah, there's guys that they've been punished enough at this point.
Yes. All right. Ryan says Schilling will get through the Veterans Committee, but there's no reason why sports reporters should be involved in the voting process. It's caused a lot of problems. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not super. I think they're getting better at how to look at players, but I agree. At this point, I think they've abdicated their responsibility, and maybe there's a different way that this should be done. A lot of the sports writers, I don't know that they care that it's a job for them. I don't, just because they cover it doesn't mean they know it,
Yep. Zach Valtrade says everything is a scam. Yes, a lot of things.
This live stream is a scam, Zach.
Yeah, it's a scam. What I'm saying is a lie.
There is no spoon, Zach.
Yes. Ryan saying Weaver got the shaft and Comiskey skated.
Right. Yeah, I mean, lifetime ban is, for the rest of their life, really. But probably your lifetime, Ryan. They're banned for your lifetime. When your time is gone, then I think all those guys get into the hall.
Yeah. Bob Boozle says, I prefer not so hot women. BK Sports Card says, all I see is two dudes talking, not hot girls. I wonder if
there's only so far I'm to go for YouTube views, man. I'm not this is it. So
yeah, this is it. I wonder if Fanatics is just gonna do that. Just get two good-looking girls, and then they're just talking sports and sports cards, and then they'll get like thousands of views.
Have they signed Daps up yet? I think, doesn't he walk around with a couple of a little bit of arm candy at some events?
I know that he did talk to Ruben, and they're talking to James Harden or something like that.
Okay.
So who knows? Yeah,
I know how to market themselves. I give them credit. Like, I've been doing YouTube for years, and I can't get anybody to watch my stuff. So it's just like, all right, there's guys that, you know, maybe they don't have substance and all that, but they know how to market like crazy.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So I'm not accusing Daps of doing this, but I'm pretty sure some people buy off followers on, IG,
Oh
YouTube,
yeah,
whatever they do. And you
yeah,
could promote your posts on
yep,
Instagram, right?
yeah,
So you just pay, some
yep,
people have told me, hey, I paid something because, guess what? This information is quality. I'm a collector and there's a lot of
yeah,
nonsense out there. I understand that. It's
right.
totally fine. You could do what you want, but
Yeah, if you want to promote a tweet on Twitter or whatever, I mean, that's always option. There's places that they'll get you 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in a heartbeat if you want to get monetized. I mean, you just got to pay for it.
I mean, if I wanted, I could pay. And then,
Yep,
instead of 900 followers on IG, I could get 5,000 if I wanted. But do I want to go
absolutely.
down there, right?
Right.
Excuse me, go down that route? No, I'd
Right.
rather, you know, do it the natural way,
Right.
because
Right.
then I'll get more nonsense. If I overpay and
Yeah.
then what if my analysis turns out horrible and then people are going to turn on me and then you get it back thrown in your face. I'd rather, grow it small.
Right. I mean, think about the quality followers you're getting on that one. It's like, it's maybe not what you want over the longer term. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's not for me, but I mean, if you want to get monetized quickly or anything like that, the big question is it deductible?
I don't, I don't
I
know.
was hoping you'd have that answer. I don't know.
I'm not a tax guy.
Oh, I thought you were a tax guy. All
No,
right.
I'm not a tax guy. I'm a
Okay.
corporate guy, corporate
Corporate guy.
accountant.
All right. All right. I'll ask some,
Yeah.
so, and not that I was thinking about it that hard, but
Yes. Would you ever buy a Funko Pop of the curator if he self-produced them? What do you think, Benji?
you could make it into like you could make it into like a little voodoo doll for yourself or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Maybe I could show it. Oh, look, I got curator's doll, not
There you
curator's
go.
doll, curator's
Absolutely.
pop.
Hey, I got nothing against the guy. That's what you think. So no,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's look at some other comments. Maybe we'll wrap it up in the next 10 minutes or so.
sure.
Phoenix says, if I want hot girls, I'll buy a hobby box of bench warmers. Okay.
Right. Well, you know what? Fun cards, and there's hot girls there. It's the Leaf Pop Century, and so they have a ton of just pop culture figures or whatever. Let's see if I have one. As per usual, I can never find what I'm looking for, but it's a fun product. And let's see if you can see that. That's the Fonz. You can
Yeah.
get autographs of there's some lookers in there.
Okay. There you
Sure.
go.
And then of
There you
course
go.
you have the wrestling products. You can get like a Sable autograph auto patch or whatever. Why not?
Okay. Sounds good.
There you go.
Brendan
Phoenix.
says, I hope they replace Luber with Pepino Man at Fanatics. Have you seen his videos?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I think everybody's
That'd be
seen
all.
Pepino.
He's great. He's great.
Oh,
at his
he's
content.
wild, man. Oh, he's crazy. I mean, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, what's his reach?
Yeah, it's true. It's
A couple
like,
hundred people versus, backyard breaks they're getting, tens and tens of thousands. I mean, that's the way you have to think about it. I remember when the Big Ten was going through expansion and everybody wanted Iowa State and all. It's like, no, we've already got Iowa. We've already got that territory. This is what, Rutgers made no sense. It was like, if you want to expand to the New York market, you have to go with something that doesn't make sense, but they have that territory covered. And so,
yeah, I mean, I was shocked, growing up in Big Ten land. I mean, you have too. You're in Minnesota.
mm-hmm.
So I was shocked when they said Nebraska is part of the
Yep.
Big Ten. Maryland, I remember they played in the ACC. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy talk.
Exactly. But again, if you're a Big Ten commissioner, your biggest source of revenue is the Big Ten network. You want the Chicago area. You want New York. That's why they got Rutgers. You want that East Coast. And now you're bringing in, USC, UCLA. You want California. You want those markets. You want the LA market. So,
yeah. I mean, I know
that's where the expansion doesn't make sense to expand to Iowa State. You already have Iowa. Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking, you said Chicago. So who do they have here?
Northwestern.
Northwestern. Yeah.
That's
Just
huge
'cause
there,
I'm like,
right?
I mean, if they're good, right? I mean, the
Right, yeah.
90s, they were good, when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Darnell
Okay.
Autry, and that's about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Darnell Autry, I mean, his career didn't go anywhere, but,
Yeah.
um, and I thought that Notre Dame would be a good fit for the Big Ten, but they're not going to sign.
No, they make so much money. It would be a pay cut for them to go to any conference for football at least. But we've got I know they do things with their other sports, but football they just I think at this point they might actually do well with the Big Ten, but they still do the revenue sharing and all that. They don't need to be
Yeah,
part of
that's
that.
true.
So.
They could just sign with NBC.
Exactly. So yeah, Texas was always one that they really wanted. They just want to go to markets where they're not already in, wherever they're at. So
Exactly.
it makes it really weird. Big Ten was 16 teams, and we got California and Maryland, and we won't see Michigan half the time. But it's like, well, but we get $60 million a year out of Big Ten Network, and we can get a nice new stadium. So that's the trade off.
Just imagine the future Stanford joins the Big Ten.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, forget about the Rose Bowl when I grew up, but
Oh yeah, yeah. So, well, the nice thing is they've created so many other bowls. Like if we not going to happen this year, but if we finish second or third, we could still get a Rose Bowl trip out of this thing. So it's been a long time. I'd like to get one of those. I'd like to go to one of those.
for sure.
Yeah.
Paige says fan topics is going to be a blank show.
All
Could
right.
be.
What's fan topics?
I guess that's the new name for Fanatics.
I love it.
And tops. Yep.
Fan tops, but don't we have to get Panini in there soon? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Allegedly, they
Fan
bought them.
Topini?
Yeah, exactly. Fanatics auction has some really good stuff in it. I saw some of the auctions seemed weird a couple of months ago. I did videos on that.
Well, yeah, you were talking about cards that were sitting there for like $200, but they're just, what do they care? So maybe they only need one person to come buy it. They don't have anybody hovering over that stuff. So yeah, I imagine we'll see more and more auctions. I mean, they'll probably have limited stuff, and that's only going to be available via auction. So
Yep. Bob Boozle says Josh Luber, author of copy and paste essays on sports cards.
All right.
Yep. I know Curator, always referenced this paper, but never talked about the hype cycle, which was into that paper. But that's a topic for a different day.
It's very real. Like I said, you can look anywhere. World Series right now, you're seeing it with Pena. You're seeing it a little bit with Alvarez. It's like, just stay away, watch it, enjoy it, but you don't have to get involved.
Yep. Okay. Do you know if Fanatics buys cards off in the secondary market? No, I don't know that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they start a consignment company.
Yeah.
I think that's where they can make a lot of money.
Right. I mean, if they start, if they get some breakers in there to do things, and then you option to just leave the card with them, and they'll sign it or they'll consign it or sell it or whatever. I think they'll want to keep everything in house.
Exactly. Kamikaze Sports Card Hybrid says, "What's up, Rahul? What's going on?" All right, let's try to look at some other comments here. I'm offended on behalf of all women, especially the whales.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
Man, Steve,
come on, buddy.
Steve, oh man, you're when I have him on, those are some wild topics to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Paige says, how do you use a female model to market 5,000 count boxes? I don't know. I mean, you get more eyeballs.
I mean, geez. They had the models for that live break, didn't they? I mean, they'll figure out a use even when there's no reason. They'll still do it.
They did use models in, I think, Leighton breaks. Is that what it is?
Yeah, when they had that joint break and the dude took his shirt off and stuff. It's like,
that's like wild.
Bring back the mod. We don't need to see that. Very professional, guys. Way to go. All eyes are on
very
you.
Professional.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many of these guys in sports cards. I know you work in the corporate world. I do as well. Some of these guys, I'm thinking like, they have never worked with people. I mean, yeah, in my 20s, I may have been a little immature in working in the
Right.
corporate world, but then now you grow up like, okay, I can't act like that. And then,
Right. If he wants to go to the bar after the bell rings, it's like, yeah, you kind of see this, you see stuff like that. And there was
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot less cocaine
that's different.
in that live stream. But other than that, I mean,
It's like, wouldn't you want to, when you're on camera, there's a way to handle yourself. And,
yeah,
I sometimes act out. I get it, but this is not, me signed up with the company. I would
I'm,
never act like this, if I represented a company. I would
right,
tone
right.
down half the stuff I say.
Absolutely. I'm when I college, high school, when I cut my teeth on the train, I'm glad that like social media was not a thing.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
I
mean, not
mean,
necessarily for me, but I think there's a lot of people that were really glad. I mean, you don't want this. Why would you want any of this stuff on video forever? So
yeah, exactly. I mean,
different mindset these days. Gotta be careful.
yeah, exactly. These days, cancel culture is real, so you got to
For sure,
watch
for
what you
sure.
say. Watch
Yeah.
what you say. Steve says, "I want a Brittany Griner rookie. She's the real pop culture icon." Oh boy.
Right, right. There's probably not gonna be a lot of news for the next 9 years, but then when she gets out, maybe that's the time to usually buy now, then sell when she gets out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At least we got a bunch of good jokes out of that, I guess. So
Yeah, exactly. Anyone see the similarity starting between AIH versus the Great Curator shaping out to be the next Carol Baskin versus Joe Exotic? I don't stalk the Great Curator, even though some people say I stalk him. I
right,
think
right.
Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin was just quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of tigers behind that Cubs thing, isn't there?
Oh yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
tigers that are
Yeah.
treated in an inhumane manner.
Yep. That's you got to cover that up. Good thing for you put the
Yeah,
Cubs up there in this draft.
exactly.
Good call.
Yes. All right. MLB Cards Australia. Good to see someone from Australia again. And thanks for coming on again. Chad, I loved your video
Oh,
on potential Hall of Fame pitchers. Can't wait for the position players. Okay.
yeah. Thank you very much. Catchers and first base are done, so we'll have those out every week.
Exactly. All right. Paige says Pan Topics.
Pan topics, that works.
Yeah, that's a good title. Brendan says tact has no utility in the corporate card industry. Okay.
Well, it's kind of the Wild West right now. It's really starting to come out, and this is the behavior that you get. I mean, what do you do to stand out? I mean, there's only so many eyeballs you're going to get by opening cards. It comes down to the product. If you really want to, branch out, you got to do something different. And stripping, I guess, is what they thought would get some eyeballs, for better or worse.
Indeed.
It's an interesting approach. I don't think I'll try it, but it's like here's a belly dance while I open this Topps Chrome Star Wars. It's like, yeah, it doesn't sound right.
Indeed. Ryan says, I'm sure Josh Luber did a lot of research on that article. And it's not an SABR article or mine, but to each his own. Yeah, to each his own. I think the only thing missing is the interest rate impact on sports cards. I think that was missing in his paper, but it's my opinion, but it is what it is.
I kind of ran the numbers on that when you mentioned it, the real rate and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, there's cards that it impacted, and there's cards that kind of buck the trend. So it's kind of like the stock market, where you have, in general, 70% of stocks are going to go with whatever the general trend is, and then you'll have a few that buck it. And so,
yeah,
my job in the real world and what I try to do, on YouTube is like, let's find the ones that can buck that trend. Is what you come down.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Like
everybody, when things are going up, everybody's the smartest guy in the world, but it's like, all right, when things don't go your way, can you put in some work and find the things that'll hold up better than others? So
good points. Just like the mantle card, it bucked the trend, but it's
a
very scarce card.
Right.
And Mickey Mouse cards, those have done well. I sold a few during that time. So, there were cards that went up, which I've stated, but vast majority.
Babe Ruth Gaudy, there's so few of them because you have people that sit on probably like 1 million of them and they release them one at a time. So
yeah,
that's what Golden does. No, there's so few. They come up so little that this is what people are waiting for. And when you see it, you just buy it. It doesn't quite matter what the price is.
Exactly. Okay, let's end it on a few comments here.
Yeah.
Crooked Golden. He says hello to Raul. What up, man? How's it going? Oh, nice. Ken Golden joined our stream. Oh man. Oh man.
Right, right. I think it's his evil twin.
It's Nemesis.
Right. He has debt, not a 9-figure bank account, but he has debt. So
Yeah.
it's the opposite of Ken Golden. So.
All right. I'll leave it in the last few comments and then we'll wrap it up. Judson says, do you think breaking will continue to grow or fall off like a fad? I think it'll still be here, but it'll be a select few.
It's not enough to what we're finding is it's not enough to just show off the cards. It has to be entertainment as well. And that's where Backyard breaks. I mean, they do it. You see them and they're getting, excited and hyped, and that's probably the trajectory for it. It's got to be a show.
Yeah, I mean, if they're dry humping each other, I think that some people will just watch to see, like, okay, how ridiculous can they get?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep. That's the next phase. So,
exactly. All right, 2 more comments in the up. Ryan McClanahan says, last before I leave, but can you blame Beckett Monthly for the hobby behaving like Wall Street? Thanks, guys. No, I blame people, not blame, but unbiased analysis, people not understanding what happened with the macro. And they thought that prices would continue to go up and up and up. But, like Chad, you talked about technical analysis, you run out of buyers. So I don't blame Beckett for that.
Beckett's been around forever. I used to love to get that when I was a kid. It was fun, and they had the prices in there, but it's like there has to be there was no eBay comps or anything like that. There has to be some sort of reference point. So,
yeah, okay.
I don't think the hobby's behaving like Wall Street for the most part, but there's some similarities, but it's not the same. It's a market, but it's not the same type of market.
Yeah. Crooked Golden.
That's great.
You're like the best commenter besides Steve out there. All right.
I appreciate everybody, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But before we leave, Chad, anything else to say before we head off?
Hey, you know what? Astros are going to lose one here. They haven't lost yet. Let's go Astros in 5.
Astros in 6.
You taking it? Okay, I love it. So yeah, see what happens here. But I think we're on the same page about.
Forgot to say who's going to win the series.
Third time's the charm against the AL East. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I get it done. Dusty's gonna definitely win it. But everyone, thank you for listening in. I know a lot of you don't like baseball, but it's one of my favorite sports, and I wanted to talk about it with one guy who loves it as well. So
absolutely, thank you for having me on. It was a fun time.
Yes, and remember, guys, to subscribe to CNT Collectibles on YouTube, one of the more channels. You should have way more subscribers than me, but
I'd probably get nervous. So whatever happens.
Yeah. All right, Chad. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.